Let's Tammy Faye Baker. America is for them too.
Listen, we're a split country, right? So Vicky was your favorite.
She kind of was my favorite on that show. Yes, by the way, I used to watch Orange County. I stopped about like, I don't know, like maybe 2.5 years ago or 3 years ago. I don't know why. I just didn't stop. I just let it go. You have to let things go. I stopped watching Atlanta also around the same time. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that. Because if there was ever a moment to need to stream stuff, it's now, right? But
a lot of people stopped. I mean, well, Orange County, Heather Dubrow came back, and now Tamra Judge is coming back.
Loved Tamra Judge.
What about Heather Dubrow? I love Heather Dubrow.
Heather's a monster. I'm sorry, she's a monster, but she's so fun to watch, right? She's fun to watch. You can feel that she's just a monster, but she's fun to watch.
There's something about Heather that and she has been good since, like, she just always comes on this show. I don't know. Like,
oh, that's great. I love hooray for her.
So listen, Issac, I am a very simple girl. If you come on my show, I love you. And if you don't,
that's what I used to say about people who buy my clothes at full price, like unconditional love you get from me, like a mother's love. I love you like your mother loves you. Yeah.
And really one-on-one like this, Heather, to me, I mean, yes, there's a microphone and a camera and all that, but she's been nothing but like, even behind the scenes, like wonderful to me. Tamra, I don't know. We'll just leave that one where it is.
Okay.
What do you think of these two New Yorks, though? Like the fact that we're now starting over and we're going to have this OG show, that Randy says we're going to have two RHONYS. Like, do you like this idea?
Are we?
Well, we're starting.
See, you're so well. I need to keep you in my life. You need to send me like alerts. Like my David Yontef alert.
Listen, if you ever want to work housewives into your show, like just you don't even have to give me an EP credit. Just call me. I'll tell you what's going on. And
Okay, I will do.
What is there anything else with pop culture that keeps you
by
up
the
at
way,
night?
what I will say about the New York thing is I think if that's true and they're doing it to two and they're going to keep the OG RHONY thing going on, then create this new RHONY thing, I think that is incredibly smart. You know why? Because there is a part of New York that you don't get from those women, and I'm not sure it's the high or the low or something. I'm not sure it's like, because everyone says, oh, the reason Beverly Hills is so fun is because they're all like so rich and, it's all the clothes and blah, blah. And in New York, they're all kind of like, they're trying to, they're desperate to get free clothes and desperate to get, seats at fashion shows where it's like, in LA, it's this dynasty thing, right? It's like, the Richards and the Hiltons and right now the Vanderpumps and that crazy Diana, whoever she is, Diana someone,
Jenkins.
Right? Yeah. Right. So you see, or Sutton Strack, right? It's like they actually do have loads of money and they do go to places and buy couture. They do, whereas like the New York girls, they're kind of calling in the favors, they're wheeling and dealing to get dresses so they don't wear the same thing twice, right? Which is a hilarious kind of predicament to be in. And I love watching that. But there is in New York, there are incredibly stylish women at both ends of the spectrum. You know what I mean? And I bet it would be I think it would be just as fascinating and just as dynastic as the LA thing. You know what I mean? I think Andy could find the girls who were actually, they were onto something with Tinsley Mortimer. They were onto something there. You know what I mean? I bet they could get a real cast of real sort of people, Yeah.
Issac, I say this all day, every day. It's like, I think if you're not from New York, you get an idea, but you don't really. These are the girls that are not there. And I just think for escape TV, yes, I think Tinsley was the closest thing to that. And I personally want to see the charity event where this is so exclusive that cameras aren't allowed, but the housewife is actually bigger than the whole charity. So cameras are going to be allowed, like pure wealth.
How the Met Ball is not the focus of like the RHONY thing. Like, how is that not true? Right? Like just that alone is so hilarious, right? Yes. Darling, in New York, forget about it. It's more exclusive here than Yeah.
And it's different. It's like, the private schools and, getting
Oh, darling.
wanting to get your kid into a school that costs $90,000 a year for kindergarten at, age 1, like all this craziness. I think people would find it so interesting.
Or this kind of like, multi-branding kind of corporate maniac thing. Like they don't get that too. And you have like, I don't know, you have like Sonia Morgan, like trying to get who I love, I love Sonia Morgan, right? And I think she's gorgeous. I do. I think she's really pretty. But it's like
gorgeous. Yeah.
She's gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous. Like Sonia, forget about it. And I just pray that she doesn't touch her face too much. Like tell her if you know her. I bet you know Sonia. Tell her not to touch that motherfucking nose because it's so good, right? Anyway, but it's like she gets a license with Century 21 and they go out of business. You know what I mean? It's like, really? What about like all those huge, fabulous women who have like major corporate maniacs, right? They're out there. So
they're out there. That's what I agree with you. That's what we should do. And I think Tinsley was the closest thing other than Bethenny, but Bethenny just did well.
Bethenny, exactly. Bethenny, period. End of story, right? Bethenny Frankel.
One of your many Watch What Happens Live appearances. You were there with Bethenny once.
Right.
What do you think of like Diana Jenkins since you watch Beverly Hills?
I think that because the thing about Sutton, it's really not about Diana for me. It's about how much I kind of appreciate Sutton, right? I don't even really know her. We follow each other. We message each other sometimes, but I like her. And I think she's not wrong. That whole thing with Erika Jayne, when Erika Jayne was telling them all this stuff that wasn't true. And then finally she used the word liar. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, it wasn't. And I loved Erika Jayne, but she was trying to create this like big smoke screen about what was going on. And I felt like Sutton was only trying to protect herself by consulting with a lawyer. It's like, well, wait a minute, because you remember the Harvey Weinstein thing, right? And how there were people who were so loyal to Harvey Weinstein and they went down because they thought, well, this is going to pass and the power is going to take hold again and blah, blah. And who was wrong? You know what I mean? And so like, you do have to be careful about who you associate yourself with, right? So I didn't think she was wrong. Of course, how she handled it maybe was a little bit weird and hilarious, which is to me very good TV. So I can't fault her for that. But I thought was right through that whole thing. You know what I mean? And now I found that Diana Jenkins was a little bit predisposed to not liking Sutton. It's like someone said, oh, Sutton's in her ear. Should they poured a little bit of poison into Diana's ear about Sutton, and suddenly she was weirdly hostile towards Sutton, like sort of passive aggressively hostile to Sutton. And Sutton, who is, really sensitive, she picked up on it and she started acting out. And that's not Sutton's fault, darling. That is not her fault, And by the way, bacon eating vegetarian. I'm right there with you, babe. Right there.